Have you ever tried to imagine a world before us? I mean, a time when the Earth was truly silent, at least of human voices? A time when life was wild and ancient and enormous? Well, today, we're going to go back there. We're going to witness the final dramatic day of the dinosaurs and see how the moment that ended their world actually began ours.
And it really was. I mean, just think about it. A planet absolutely teeming with life so huge, so powerful, you'd think it was sculpted by the gods. Everything had its place in this perfect and, yeah, pretty brutal balance.
So that's the big question, right? That's the incredible story we're diving into. Because this isn't just some story about extinction. No, this is probably the most dramatic origin story you'll ever hear. Because it's our origin story.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're going back 66 million years to a time called the Late Cretaceous Period. And you have to understand this was a world that truly belonged to giants.
Just try to picture it. Continents covered in these massive, ancient forests of ferns and conifers. The air itself feels thick, you know? It's humming with the sounds of a planet just seething with raw energy. A world so full of life, it probably felt like it would last forever. And the creatures in charge, wow, they were on a totally different scale. You had the Tyrannosaurus rex, of course, literally 2 tons of pure predatory instinct. Vast herds of Triceratops moving across the plains. In the skies, you had pterosaurs with wingspans like small planes. The valleys echoed with the calls of hadrosaurs. I mean, every single corner of this world is dominated by these colossi.
But here's the thing. While these giants were walking in the sun, a very different story was playing out in the shadows. Down below, beneath the roots of all those ancient trees, lived these tiny mammals, our ancestors. They were alert, they were wary, and they had absolutely no idea they were about to inherit the Earth.
So, while life on Earth pulsed on, completely oblivious, a silent and absolutely inevitable threat was closing in. Far, far above, in the cold darkness of space, something was on its way.
And this is what's so mind-blowing. This wasn't some random accident. This was a journey that had been unfolding for millions of years. It was like a cosmic appointment that the Earth had no idea was about to keep.
10 kilometers. That's how big this thing was. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the height of Mount Everest, a single chunk of rock with enough mass to completely rewrite the future of an entire planet.
And its speed is just terrifying to think about, over 70,000 kilometers per hour. As it slammed into our atmosphere, the air in front of it compressed and got so hot that the rock itself became a glowing orb of fire, like a second sun falling out of the sky. You have to imagine, in those last few moments, something must have felt wrong. An instinctual dread probably fell over the planet. The sky would have started to change color. And for the first time maybe ever, the dinosaurs looked up, sensing an end that they just couldn't possibly comprehend. And then, it hit. The asteroid crossed those last few kilometers of sky in less than a breath. In that instant, it felt like time itself just stood still.
The impact itself was, well, it was beyond our senses. A light brighter than 1,000 suns, and a sound so immense it wasn't even a sound anymore. It was a physical force, a shockwave that rippled through the very fabric of the planet.
The energy release is almost incomprehensible, 100 million megatons. It literally vaporized the ocean where it hit and melted the Earth's crust, blasting open a wound over 180 kilometers wide and 20 kilometers deep.
And this, right here, shows you just how instantaneous the change was. In a single moment, the familiar blue sky was just gone, replaced by a ceiling of fire and smoke as the atmosphere itself ignited.
And the chaos that followed was absolute. A shockwave, moving faster than sound, flattened everything for thousands of kilometers. A tsunami, a monstrous wall of water over a kilometer high, tore across the oceans. And then all the rock and debris that got blasted into space started to rain back down, turning the entire sky into a storm of falling fire. So, for anything that managed to survive that initial blast, the horror was really just beginning. The fires and the floods gave way to something new, something quieter. A long, dark, and frozen night. See, all that dust and soot thrown into the atmosphere just hung there, shrouding the planet in darkness. For years, without sunlight, photosynthesis stopped. All the plants withered and died. So the great herbivores starved, and then, of course, the carnivores who hunted them, including the mighty T-Rex, they followed. The entire global food chain just collapsed from the bottom up.
The planet that had been so vibrant and green was now just a cold, gray tomb. Temperatures plunged. The air was thick with sulfur and ash. Life was just vanishing. But, and this is the most important but in the history of life, not everything died. Deep underground, hidden away in burrows, safe from the fire and the frost, our little mammalian ancestors, they endured. They resisted the apocalypse, just waiting out the long night in the darkness.
And after years of darkness, a new day finally came. A weak sun broke through the hazy clouds, shining down on a world that was forever changed. A world that was ready to begin again.
But the healing process was incredibly slow. We're talking decades just for the skies to start clearing, centuries for the rains to wash the world clean, and millennia before the first little green shoots started to push up through the ash. Life was coming back, but it was fragile.
And the creatures that finally came out of those burrows, well, they found a whole new world waiting for them. An empty world. The giants were gone. The throne was vacant. A profound fundamental shift had happened.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here, isn't it? The day the Earth stopped wasn't the end of the story. It was a violent, terrifying, and, well, an absolutely necessary transformation. That single cataclysm cleared the stage for a new kind of life to thrive, to evolve, and to one day look up at the stars and wonder how it all began. It wasn't their end, it was our beginning.